We are born curious. Curiosity is at the foundation of science, but some would say that it's also fundamental to what it is to be human. In this short film, we'll be showing 3 different sorts of ways that teachers can encourage children to learn science outside. The first is a curriculum-based approach, which comes from the Natural Connections project. The second is a narrative journey, which is based on play and story. And finally, we'll look at forest school practice. We'd like you to think about what these show you in terms of how we can reawaken curiosity in children and motivate them to learn science and about nature.
Outdoor education is important for a variety of reasons. We try to organise our outdoor education so it hits lots of different areas. We use it both to enrich the activities that are running in the classroom. We use it to engage and excite children about their learning. One of our school values here is to develop a love of learning, and outdoor education really develops that love, not just of the outdoors and of nature, but also for the learning that takes place outside. We also use it to support less able children who prefer a more hands-on approach. We use it to develop leadership skills and social skills amongst children from disadvantaged backgrounds who maybe find it harder in a class context, but they come out here and they help the younger children to do various activities and really grow in leadership skills, in strength and encouraging confidence whilst they're out here. When you're with Quinn later on, you might notice something about the size of the leaves.
Oh yeah, some of them are big, some of them are small.
Should we have a look? When you're with Quinn, you're going to look more scientifically at the different sizes of leaves. That's okay, that's okay. What happens to leaves in autumn? They blow off the...
True.
That's what's going to happen. Right, well done. Dylan, in a minute you're going to feed back. Obviously, achievement and attainment is quite a hard one to measure. We often talk, we had an inspection recently and we were discussing how you can measure the effect of learning outdoors. And I guess one of the ways you've got to look at it is that learning outdoors has that massive effect on their enjoyment, on children's engagement, the fact that they can sit around and have a conversation and use words to describe the scientific process or describe poetry, do an adjective hunt around the woodlands, or come out and do maths and measurement. They can come out here, there's no right or wrong, it's not black or white like it is in the classroom, they're not going to have red marks on their books. And it really builds into that enjoyment and engagement, which through building on their confidence has a huge impact on their learning in the classroom. Some are simple and some are compound. Gideon, are you looking at that leaf in lots of detail? Bella, are all leaves the same?
Especially the compound and the birch. They have more leaves than the birch.
So they have the compound leaves. What about the size of the compound leaves? They are, what do we think? Emily?
Big.
They're bigger. Some of you were saying they're bigger and smaller. And finally, one other thing. What else did we notice about the different leaves? At this time of year, especially as we're learning about autumn. Noah?
The leaves change colour like red, brown and orange and yellow.
Good description. So the leaves...
And again, when we've been working scientifically in the woodland, so much of that is through vocabulary and talking through and reasoning and predicting. And again, perhaps we haven't got that so much in the classroom, but when we're working outside, we've seen a bigger impact with that.
Promoting the outdoors, putting in money, resources, time and energy into developing our school grounds has both enriched the curriculum and has had a hugely positive impact on their attainment and the kind of social and leadership side to it as well.
Narrative journey is a way of storing children's experiences to bring them into nature using a storied approach. For the most part, narrative journey works on 2 principles. The first is using what I call narrative cues. These are short invitations that get children excited into nature. This could be as simple as picking up a decaying leaf and saying, "Oh, it's a fairy's wing." that might be the only introduction I need to give, and that may send children off on an immersive experience, hunting out leaves, looking for fairies, building fairy houses, that sort of thing. Equally, I may build the architecture of a storied world in which I invite children into, so that then they can have certain nature experiences framed within that context. This was 2013, so actually not that long ago. These are and this is one. This is our last. Yeah, this is the last one that was spotted in 2014, so a few years ago. And this one was called Little Oak, and they actually took pictures of this one as she started to grow up, and that's what she looked like when they last saw her. Now the trouble is, pixies and fairies only come out mostly at night. We rarely see them here, but we do know they exist. Now the sad thing is, a couple of weeks ago, this thing called the Huff and a Puff came into our woods and just wiped out the entire village of houses, and both the pixie houses and the fairy houses. And so your mission is to help us today to rebuild some houses. Do you think you can do that?
Yes.
Excellent. Although Narrative Journey uses the same sorts of devices that you get in other story forms, such as a literary form or stage theatre and performance, what it does is it puts stories out there that are always in action. What this means is that stories are in a state of becoming, a state of unfolding. They're not already in existence. They come into being as children interact with each other, as they interact with me as a practitioner, but also, and most importantly, as they interact with their natural environments. This is particularly important, I think, for children today, because a lot of children's learning is already packaged up for them and delivered to them. So they're not contributors to that curriculum, or they're not contributors or designers of their own learning. They're not the knowledge constructors. What Narrative Journey does is it empowers them, and it relinquishes power off the practitioner to enable children to help construct their own learning, construct their own knowledge.
So, I started making this on my own. There's a little path. I've got a blind here, plant pots. And there's a little way into a secret little bit under the house. And here's the door. And in there you can see my fireplace. Then behind the house we have the bath bowl. There's someone's getting messy. So here's the bath bowl. Then we have a collection of stuff that the fairies have found. Here's like something that you can fill up to take water away, and here's a little sink to wash our hands in.
Setting up a process that enables children to have ownership over their own learning experiences doesn't mean that as a practitioner you don't have a role. In Narrative Journey, I position myself normally as a character, as a person within their storied world. I generally take on a kind of mentoring type role, so I'll be the kind of Jungian type mentor, if you like, the Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. This is quite important because as practitioners, particularly as teachers, for example, you will want to still control things like health and safety, and you want to make sure that you have an eye on those things. But having an eye on those things doesn't mean that you can't enjoy being in that storied world with children. It doesn't mean that you can't play a part and contribute. And of course, as a practitioner, you need to be able to contribute, because part of Narrative Journey is not just about delivering learning outcomes. It's about building and forging relationships with children a little bit more equal, to enable children to bounce ideas off you, to enjoy being with you, to enjoy being in your company. And of course, important, you enjoy being in the company of children. And within all of this, enjoy being out in the natural world.
Forest schools, when the children have regular access to the outside area, their local environment, so they're going out on a weekly or fortnightly basis, they're able to see the changes around them, the changes in the season, and it's just a regular feature for them. It's not a one-off with, oh wow, it's going out and just enjoying the outside space, connecting them back outside, back to nature, just immersing themselves in everything that's outside. Forest School is a chance for the children to be outside. It's not me dictating the activities that they're doing. I have a bank of ideas if you see some children who perhaps aren't engaging in something. There's so many aspects of the curriculum that I can weave in, that the children weave in themselves, and I can extend on or develop and enhance. But My aim isn't to go out and tick items off the curriculum. My aim is to get the children outside, letting them follow their own line of inquiry. The children show so many learning skills that are being enhanced and developed outside. Their perseverance, obviously foundation, the part of the curriculum, communication and language is just, it's constant outside. They're constantly talking and expressing and saying what they've seen. Caitlin, what do you think this feather was used for?
Fluffy.
Nice and fluffy. So when do you want to put something fluffy on to keep you warm? This looks quite a small feather.
And to keep you a little bit warm and comfy.
Warm and comfy. I think if I was covered in those, I'd be really warm and comfy. So this doesn't look very waterproof for the bird, does it? They are the longer, bigger feathers, the outside feathers that help the water run off its body. We might find some big waterproof feathers. Do you want to keep that in your pocket, and we might be able to compare them later? They're just curious, they're following their own line of inquiry, and that all those skills can be brought into the classroom, and it just also the children have a lovely calmness. They're excited, but they're calm. Other teachers have said to me that they get their best working day out of the children after they've had forest school the day before.
Yeah,
So, what's happened? What happened to the water? Can you do it again? Let's look at the fabric on top and the tarpaulin. Do another one then. A bit slower this time. Right, what's it doing? What's the water doing when it touches the fabric? Sophie? It's going through it. What did it do on the rock? Erin, what did it do when the water went? It stayed there. Did it just stay still?
No, it slipped.
It slipped
down.
It kind of.
To the bottom.
Okay, so it drained off. Often, if I'm not covering PPA, the member of staff will come out with me, and they'll take notes, and they say that they see a whole different child that they see in the classroom than I see at Forest School. Obviously, I'm passionate about outdoor learning, but seeing the children outside on a regular basis, how they develop, how they flourish, how their resilience improves, their awareness of everything around them, just their use of their senses, it just grows from strength to strength.
In all three examples, social science can really help us to understand the processes and theories underpinning that practice. For example, connection to nature can help to develop pro-environmental attitudes. And experiential learning is highly valued by children and increases their engagement and motivation to learn.
Personally, I understand the importance of the connection of the natural world, because without that connection, without that interaction, there isn't the social interaction that happens between everyday person, and that has been what was lost in this generation, which is why obviously the government bringing it back in. I would like to see, I would say to whoever government departments might be looking at this, is it would be nicer if they funded more green spaces rather than black concrete, because if they want education to be a lot better, I would say it is definitely proven from my own year's experience working in King's Kerswell Primary School that the children themselves have a lot more confidence when they find their own confidence outside of the classroom, especially children who have got elements that are very contained in class and have problems concentrating and focusing because it's just pretty much blank walls, lots of busy colours. When they're out in the environment, they're calmer, they're more interactive, they're more easygoing, they find their space, they open up, they learn better. So my thought is more green spaces.
I always need a top up of being with like-minded people. I find I get frustrated but also disillusioned if I'm spending a lot of time with people who think that classrooms need to be rooms indoors with children in uniforms, white socks, and to be told to. And so I knew from the list of people presenting that it was going to be different to that. So I always love spending time with people who are going to inspire me in my practice.
It's really exceeded all my expectations. I feel really empowered by the storytelling that we did this morning. It really took me out of my comfort zone. The whole storying around the objects was something that I thought I wouldn't be able to do, and when I started to hear about how everybody else was kind of weaving this very intricate magical journey together, I was like, well, that's not my skill, I can't do it. But I was really encouraged by seeing the group go before me, and I thought, well, I'm just going to have a go, and actually it was great, it was really great. And it links in really well with our current theme of Objects of Wonder, which we're covering in school. I liked the idea about the portal and going through the portal to enter this magical world, and it was really powerful. So it was a really unforgettable experience. I mean, that I feel that with this experience I can take back into school and encourage other members of staff to do it. In fact, I'm going to base my Twilight CPD session on that. In terms of my practice, I'm fairly new to outdoor learning. So I'm gaining confidence as time goes on, but then I realised that it is just a case of getting out there and doing it. I felt that I needed to have an understanding of the whys and the hows and the evaluations and the impact and all the natural connections, kind of evaluations that have happened.
In my belief, it needs to be brought much more into the mainstream, and it really needs to be a big part of our thinking about how we educate our children, and the fact that we create a legacy by taking children outdoors that will benefit them for the rest of their lives. And not only will it benefit them, it will benefit the planet. See the diversity of offers that people are making to get, you know, to deliver this outdoor learning agenda, and there are so many different interpretations of what that offer is based upon people's own experiences and own interests. So it's a real kind of wonderful green tapestry, and it feels really good to be part of that.
So we tried to do a lot outdoors, which is why I really enjoyed the storytelling workshop this morning, because that was good to see. And then I was thinking about how actually we could then translate that into the writing of those stories and trying to bring in some of those ideas. So the storytelling was really useful this morning to see and think through that journey and how actually then that could be translated, and interesting to think about how the children might take that on. I think it was great that it was a free event, because it makes it open to people who are self-employed and from all different backgrounds, because yeah, you don't often get the opportunity as much when you're self-employed to do CPD. So yeah, it was really great to have that opportunity.
So lovely event today, really great to see so many people so enthusiastic about outdoor learning, and people interested particularly in evaluating the impact of the outdoor learning experiences they're providing, and hopefully interested in using some of the resources we've got, hosting at Plymouth online the Good from Woods resource, which is a toolkit for researching the impact of outdoor activity, particularly woodland activity, but really relevant to any kind of outdoor learning provision or activity. So yeah, www.goodfromwoods.co.uk, I believe.